Hello, you're watching Eye on Africa. I'm James Creedon. These are our headlines this evening. In Nigeria, anxious parents still await news of their loved ones after the latest mass kidnapping at a school in the north of the country. Some 200 children were snatched in the state of Niger on Sunday. More on that coming up. The former head of the Ugandan Armed Forces has been wounded after his car was shot at by gunmen. Two others, including his daughter, were killed in that shooting. We'll hear more from Raymond Mugini in Kampala, who's following the aftermath of that attack. And the renowned Maasai people of Kenya and Tanzania are increasingly forced to move away from their traditional rural environments to big cities such as Dar es Salaam. We'll bring you a report on that trend a little bit later on in the show. Thank you for watching Eye on Africa. Now we start in Nigeria, where some 200 children have been seized in the latest school kidnapping in the north of the country. Bandits, many of them on motorbikes, ambushed an Islamic school in the north-central state of Niger on Sunday. It is presumed the motive for the mass kidnapping is to secure a ransom. The authorities have ruled out any possibility of money being handed over. Laura Di Basio and Nicola Germain have all the latest.
An all too sadly familiar sight in northern Nigeria this year. Around 200 children have been kidnapped, this time from an Islamic school in Niger State. The attackers arrived on motorbikes and started shooting indiscriminately. One person was killed. According to witnesses, they released the pupils who were too small and couldn't walk. Anxious parents gathered at the school.
The authority has done well, but we want them to do more.
I appeal to the government, they should try by all possible ways to protect our peoples for us, our children for us. We cannot say anything. They tried with the effort that they made so far, and we are hoping they are going to try harder to bring back our children successfully.
Since December 2020, before this latest attack, already 730 children had been kidnapped in northern Nigeria. Gangs target schools in remote areas. The Nigerian government denies paying ransoms, but many analysts believe that they have done so in recent months.
To Uganda next, where a former Army Chief General Katumba Wamala is in hospital after being wounded in a shooting targeting the car he was travelling in. His daughter and the driver of that vehicle passed away after the shooting. Now, for more details on that, we can cross now to Kampala. And Raymond Mugini, Deputy Director of African Institute for Investigative Journalism, following that story for us. Thank you for talking to us this evening. Do we have any sense yet as to the motive for that shooting? Clearly a very high-profile man. Currently the Transport Minister, former Army Chief. Do we know why he was targeted, why his vehicle was shot at?
Thank you so much. We don't know yet what the motive for the shooting is. A police statement which was released about 2 hours ago didn't indicate what the motive for the killers were, but it did indicate that he had been wounded in the attempted assassination on his life, which claimed his daughter and his driver. The police are saying that they are following at least 4 men who were part of that assassination attempt. They've released CCTV footage in showing the 4 men and the rifles that they used to carry out the assassination. So at the moment, we don't know what the motive is, but the police say that they're closing in on the assailants who carried out the attempted assassination.
Okay, and these incidents, unfortunately, seem to be a more regular occurrence lately in Uganda. Can you tell us about some of the more recent high-profile assassinations and what happened in the aftermath? For example, there was a spokesman for the Ugandan police shot dead in 2017, a parliamentarian killed in a similar attack in 2018. Were the assailants for those assassinations apprehended afterwards?
So we've had at least 28 high-profile assassinations of Muslim clerics, government spokespeople for the police force, and a parliamentarian, and also a prosecutor for the Directorate for Public Prosecutions. And in each of those cases, the Uganda Police Force has arrested people and taken them to court, but has been unable to achieve convictions for the people that they've taken to court. So more generally, what's been happening has been people have been arrested, but at the moment, no one has been convicted of a high-profile assassination in Uganda in the last 7 years, and indeed points to the lack of the strong evidence that is required to prosecute the people that the police say are responsible for assassinations like this one. We're yet to see whether this kind of assassination will produce a different result. But of course, it's already started off on the law, and with very few people believing that the Uganda police force can bring to the fore the people that have been behind this. But of course, for the first time, we have a CCTV footage of assailants whom the police say carried out the assassination. That's new in terms of investigation. And that's because the government invested from the last assassination in a national CCTV camera footage project, which has been able to pick up this camera footage that we're currently seeing that the police say has assailants that carried out assassination this morning.
Okay, well, hopefully there'll be some progress in that investigation. Thank you for that report from Kampala, Raymond Mugini. Thank you for that. Now, supporters of former Ivorian President Laurent Gbagbo are gearing up for his homecoming a little over 2 weeks from now. Gbagbo was cleared of charges of crimes against humanity at the International Criminal Court and has been away from Ivory Coast for over a decade now. He's a divisive figure and was forced to appear before the Hague court after being forced out of power in April 2011 following a brief civil war. Now, so what do Ivorians make of Gbagbo's impending homecoming? Our team in Ivory Coast took to the streets of Yopougon to ask locals what they thought.
Gbagbo's camp will do everything in its power to ensure that he effectively returns to Côte d'Ivoire on June 17th, although a few questions remain unanswered as we get closer to the announced due date. For instance, where will the former president reside and who will ensure his safety? Well, according to our sources, he's expressed the wish to reside in a recently built house in the economic capital of Abidjan and to be able to go back to his hometown where he says his community will ensure his safety. Another important stake here, what role will he play on the political scene, if any? Well, according to his followers, the answer is unequivocal. The long-standing hope for national reconciliation can finally realize itself when he's back in the country.
Nous avons connu la crise effectivement. Moi, j'ai même perdu mon mari dans cette histoire de crise en 2011. Et pour moi, c'est une joie. C'est une joie qui revient pour qu'au moins qu'il y ait la paix.
Vous serez où, vous, le 17 ?
Ce jour-là, si j'ai des moyens, je vais partir à l'aéroport. Je porte le pain qu'on appelle alors à Gagnoa, puis mettre les quais en bas pour aller l'attendre. C'est le père de la Côte d'Ivoire.
So there you have it. Quite a lot of enthusiasm from a fringe of the Ivorian people. On the government front, however, reactions have been more measured. Yet another telltale that discretion remains the key word here.
To Senegal next, and a land dispute some 40 kilometres outside Dakar. Residents of the village of Dougar are up in arms over their land being allegedly seized. They accuse a Moroccan company of laying claim to plots of land that rightfully belong to villagers. Now, protests have turned violent in recent weeks as inhabitants clashed with police. Civil society groups say such disputes are ever more frequent to the detriment of many Senegalese. In Dakar, our correspondents Eliman Ndao and Sarah Sako report.
First time Assane Diouf has witnessed more violence in his village in the last few weeks than he has in his lifetime. The 60-year-old was even injured in clashes with the police.
Samay papa samay ñenti mam fi lañ juddu nar joge fele ne mom fi ñu nekkon bi ñu ñumé ose taxaw nan armée li ci lañ bok état bi tok di xol.
At the heart of the unrest is some 70 hectares of land in Dougar village disputed by a Moroccan real estate company.
Ça fait partie du site qui est convoité par Pickup Investment.
The community is claiming its customary rights to the land. Some villagers even have deeds to plots.
Ce que nous aurons exigé du gouvernement, c'est l'arrêt des travaux et qu'on puisse donner à la population cette superficie qui puisse leur permettre d'extendre au moins ce quartier-là.
The company claims to be acting legally and to have a lease on the land.
L'administration nous a attribué 80 hectares. On se limite à ça. S'ils disent que c'est leur bien, d'accord. Mais est-ce qu'ils peuvent prouver que c'est leur bien? Coutumier, d'accord. Mais encore faudrait-il qu'ils travaillent la terre. Ils n'ont pas travaillé la terre. Ils n'ont pas défriché. Ils n'ont rien fait là-dessus.
With rampant urbanisation and economic development, the demand for land is constantly increasing in Senegal and conflicts have multiplied in recent years. Civil society groups are worried. They want the government to face up to its responsibilities.
Si l'État du Sénégal ne prend pas en charge la façon la plus efficace possible la question des conflits fonciers, ce sont les populations qui vont en pâtir. Et si ça continue comme ça va créer également non seulement un problème d'insécurité, ça va créer également ça peut déborder des conflits de sang.
The government spokesperson has said they're concerned about these issues and are working to ban the issuing of deeds on agricultural land.
To East Africa next, and a report on the Maasai people who inhabit parts of Kenya and northern Tanzania. They are amongst the best known local populations internationally. Their culture and traditions are famous worldwide, but despite the cliched image of the Maasai, they no longer all live rurally. Drought and loss of grazing land means more and more of them are moving to big cities such as Dar es Salaam. Nicolas Germain has more.
The Maasai live in southern Kenya and northern Tanzania. They are known worldwide for their colourful robes and semi-nomadic lifestyle. In Tanzania, according to the authorities, they are increasingly moving to urban areas like Dar es Salaam because of recurrent drought and loss of grazing lands to wildlife reserves.
Some of the Maasai, like any other youth in the country, are also attracted to go in urban areas. This community have started to adopt themselves in some of the activities, like being street vendors, like working as a security guard.
The Maasai are also renowned as hairdressers. Many of them have opened small businesses in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania's economic capital.
Nilipojitambua kwamba nina akili nilikuwa nachunga. Nilipoendelea kuchunga kuna sehemu kwenda kufanya biashara. Biashara yetu ilikuwa ni ng'ombe. Tunachukua ng'ombe nyumbani, unapeleka mnadani, unapata hela unarudi nyumbani. Au unauza ng'ombe kubwa 3-4, unanunua ndama ya 100,000, unazirudisha nyumbani. Hiyo ndio biashara yetu ya zamani.
But for the Maasai, moving to the big city is not always a success story. Activists say that many of them fail to find a job in Dar es Salaam. In many cases, their land was sold to wealthy individuals, and they are now forced to live on the streets.
That's all for this edition. Thanks for watching. More news to follow.
For more than 10 years, the people of Borno State in Nigeria have been the target of the Islamist rebels of Boko Haram. Today, their towns are being rebuilt, but what of the people who live in them? The women rejected by their families because they were raped by the enemy. Men whose children were kidnapped before their eyes.
If they catch somebody who is a teacher, civil servant, they will just cut the heads. But now, I'm not scared because we are surrounded with soldiers. And Boko Haram cannot be able to come into the town.
Our reporters have been to meet the Nigerians whose future has been put on hold.
Reporters Plus, presented by Mark Owen on France 24 and France24.com.